So my name is Dr. Mariam Chughtai. I am the Associate Dean of the LUMS School of Education. Today is the first session of EduSpeak. EduSpeak is a speaker series that the LUMS School of Education has launched with the idea of case studies. We don't talk enough about what works in education. We talk a lot about what is broken in education. And yes, there are so many people amongst us who have figured out how good quality education can be delivered. People ask me कि मैडम कुछ बताएं कि किसी दुनिया में कहीं और पे कि बहुत अच्छा कोई एजुकेशन का मॉडल हो जो हम पाकिस्तान में इस्तेमाल कर सकें. And I tell them कि पाकिस्तानियों की खसलत में कोई बुराई नहीं है कि हम अच्छी तरह से एजुकेशन नहीं डिलीवर कर सकते. हमारे ही दरमियान बहुत अच्छे स्कूल्स भी हैं, बहुत अच्छे टीचर्स हैं, बहुत काबिल असातिज़ा और स्टूडेंट्स सब मौजूद हैं. सो लम्स स्कूल ऑफ एजुकेशन का मकसद ये है कि ना सिर्फ हम हमारी प्रॉब्लम्स पर एक हाईलाइटिंग करें ताकि we can find good solutions to them, but also to highlight the good work that is happening in education. And our first case study in EduSpeak is the Salamat school system. Please join me in welcoming. We have with us many of their affiliates, their administrators, their teachers, and their leadership. So welcome to LUMS, and I would also like to especially acknowledge Ms. Fatima,
Thank you.
who was a focal person in helping put this event together, and her counterparts on my end, Zahra, Nuzhat, and Rabia. Are you here? Rabia is right there. Nuzhat is the Director of Marketing and Admissions at the LUMS School of Education. Zahra is the Manager of Marketing and Admissions, and Rabia is the Assistant Manager of Marketing and Admissions. These three women are the powerhouse, the nerve center of the School of Education, who made this event, and before it, an MOU signing possible on extremely short notice. So thank you very much. The way we'll start is I'll ask our respected speaker, Mr. Shehryar Salamat, to come and give us a presentation. Then we'll ask the other panelists to join us, and if we will have some introductory as a moderator. I get first access to asking them questions, but we will soon transition into an interactive session. So this will be an open discussion where we will take questions and have them answer them for you. The idea is to really sort of go behind the curtain and take a look at how does this model work, what works about it, what are the challenges, and there's a lot from the education sector that you can learn which applies to any sector. So I'm hoping that this will be a useful exercise. Before I do that, I will take a brief moment to tell you about the LUMS School of Education MPhil program we have just launched. It is our inaugural master's program. It is our flagship program. We have Dr. Gulab Khan here with us, who is also an assistant professor, a faculty member at LUMS. He's here. He's joined us in Beirut, Pakistan. And so this program is really about operating at the nexus of research, policy, and practice. What does that mean? In Pakistan, you will see a lot of interventions that are happening, a lot of activity that is happening in education, but very little of it is productive. Very little of it is doing something that is causing real change. Research and practice may come together, practice and policy may come together, the other two may come together, but all three rarely come together. For example, research and practice, Article 25A guarantees the right to education for every child. It is a research-backed idea put into policy, but it is not seen in any practice. It's not happening. But research and practice means that we'll see some really good ideas, and one of them is a case study today. We'll see some very high-quality curriculum being delivered in classrooms, but it is not at scale. And then policy and practice, my personal favorite, where a policy maker will have a great idea about practice, which is not research-backed at all. We'll think we should just give out technology products to every child, and that will solve our problems of education, and research is left behind. So the LUMS School of Education is really trying to help push those ideas forward that have research, policy, and practice held together. And the MPhil program, which is a 2-year program, It is offering up to 100% merit and need-based scholarships. So if you have 16 years of education, even if you have a lot of work experience, or you're a fresh graduate, or you're graduating this year from LUMS, you can apply. We want people with all kinds of backgrounds, diversity, age, gender, experience, even field, whether you're an engineer or a doctor, or coming from a humanities background or education. We want a diverse classroom. What we're trying to do is really create these leaders of education reform who will then go out back into their organizations and really have a full circle 360-degree understanding of how education reform works. So with that, if you're interested, you can talk to any one of us afterwards, or you can visit our website at soe.schoolofeducation.lums.edu. And we'd be happy for this audience to set up a 30-minute free consultation for any one of you to come and talk to the director or the manager of marketing and admissions to give you personalized advice on how to apply. The deadline to apply is April 12th. If you're interested, we'd be very happy to have you. With that, thank you very much for your time. I invite Mr. Shehryar Salamat, who's the Executive Director of SICAS. Shehryar, if you can start with giving us a presentation, and then we'll take it forward.
Thank you, Dr. Chughtai. I'm instructed to call her Mariam from now on, so that's what I've been saying. And it's a really nice privilege to be here and to see a lot of faces from Salamat school system, people working with us, and of course a lot of LUMS students and people associated with LUMS here as well. So I'm going to be fairly quick about it, since the main feature of today's session is the panel talk. So it's just to give an overview of our school system for those who are unfamiliar with it. So so it really all started in 1974. Hashim, if you go to the following slide. Yeah, so this is yeah, the one before this. Okay, this is fine. The one after this. There we go.
Sorry about that.
There we go. All right. So it really that's in a snapshot who we are. Salamat school system has 3 brands of schools operating underneath it. So it's Kids Campus, which was started in 1974. There was SICAS, which started in 1999. And then Salamat, which started before in 1986, and has been a parallel stream in our system, which also culminates at the local board matriculation exams. But our main feature is the O&A level system in SICAS, and of course Kids Campus, which is one of the preeminent preschools in Lahore, if not in Pakistan. So I'll start from 1974. The lady who needs no introduction, Mrs. Salamat, my mother, important person in my life, and of course those who have worked with her have been, a number of people have been groomed by her knowledge and education and have imbibed her vision. So really, Kids Campus, the first Kids Campus actually started in my own house in 1974. And it was an annex of my house, which ultimately took over my entire house, and we had to move out. So these are some of the vintage photographs of this campus. Hashim can go back. Yeah. So these are really old photographs. There are still some people working with us, like Ms. Bushra Mirza, who's been with us since that time. So have almost served us for 30, 40 years of our lives. So it was really a labor of love which began Kids Campus, and it was. My mother, who was a teacher, who decided to become an entrepreneur and work for herself and start a homeschool. And then, things got out of control with the demand for her type for the education that we were offering. And slowly but surely, we started growing. So Hashim, if you can go back to the timeline. So, So 1974 was the first Kids Campus in Lawrence Road, which ultimately got moved to Zafari Road, which is our current location as well. In 1986, we started the Salamat school system, which was again a sort of a joint venture with other family members. Ultimately, it became all of our own. And so Kids Campus grew also in 1993, I believe, right, which was Junior Campus. I believe your own sort of Nuzhat, who helped organize this event, she's a parent of ours as well, and her children went to Junior Campus, which is now Kids Campus. So Kids Campus then grew in 2008 yet again, and we started our first DHA branch next to the boundary wall of LUMS actually. If you go to phase 5, Kids Campus DHA is right on the LUMS boundary wall. Parallel to Kids Campus growth was the SICAS growth. So it was typically Salamat, which was our school that we started in 1986, used to absorb the outtake from Kids Campus, and that used to be, Kids Campus used to feed into Salamat along with its own feeder system. Then SICAS started in 1999. In fact, its first name was ICAS, and later on, sort of, our branding became more evolved, and we started subscribing to one brand only. So in 1999, we started on Muratabli Road, ICAS Boys, which was, and girls. It was a co-ed school, later split into boys and girls, and that became our catchment area for the Kids Campus parents, and it sort of was in line with the fee structure that Kids Campus was priced at, and it became a natural sort of go-to school for Kids Campus parent body. So SICAS has grown over the years as well. We started our exclusive O and A level campus in 2001, so we've been offering A levels at SICAS since for the last 16 years now, 16, 17 years, and we have many graduates. We've fed into some of the best schools in the world. We've had, the last 2-3 years, we've had admissions in University of Pennsylvania. We've had students go to Vanderbilt University with full scholarship, and this year our head boy is heading to University of Cambridge for his undergraduate studies. So, other than that, one of the success factors, I'm sure we'll talk about that in my conversation with Mariam, about how Kids Campus has fed into HSUN. That was one of the reasons we became so successful. Parents used to consider us as a feeder school into HSUN. We boast some specialized faculty which helps prepare students for the HSUN admission test, and that's how Kids Campus really became the go-to school for a number of families in Lahore. So recently I came across a Facebook page of HSonians who sort of identified themselves as Kids Campus graduates. So that's is a pleasant thing to see that the Kids Campus heritage is there for a long, long time, and even HSUN A-level students have their own sort of camaraderie and their own groupings as Kids Campus graduates. So a lot of memories, a lot of hard work has gone into where we are right now. If you just go to 2016, I'll just talk briefly about our recent developments. So we finally decided to branch out of Gulberg, which has been our nexus, and DHA, which was started in 2008. So in 2016, we started our first school in Johor Town, and our junior campus, which used to be other Kids Campus, got shifted here. So we now are in Johor Town. We then started in 2017 which was actually relocation of our SICAS main campus in Bedia. So we have now a school in phase 6, which has started off with the population of almost 300 students, and so we're not too far from LUMS, and we coexist with roots in the same sort of vicinity. And our first venture, we've finally been brave enough to branch outside of Lahore, and my colleague Mr. Asim Bokhari has helped a lot, and Fatma, who've spoken with. So it's really a JV with DHA, and we're now headed to Multan for our first out-of-city venture, and that school is expected to launch in 2019.
Thank you. Please have a seat. If I can ask Mr. Asim Bokhari and Zahra to join me on the stage. Thank you for that fantastic presentation. If I may ask may I just call you Asim and Zahra to give us do we have an additional microphone? I can hold on to that. Maybe 3 minutes or something about what is it that you do, your favorite part about your job, and the most challenging part of your job.
Okay, it's been a year for me now with the Salamat school system. I have essentially worked in the O-level and A-level stream as a teacher for a long time, also taught at the undergraduate level at UCL for the University of London Minister Review Program, administered there as well. And then I managed schools as an independent school head in Beacon House and worked in LGS as well. Um, the whole thing about the SICAS ethos is it has a very distinctive flavor of its own. I used to wonder why, given the kind of history that Shehryar just introduced you to, a school which essentially started off, a school system which started off around the same time and the same decade where you had schools like Beacon House and LGS, who founded then. It has had a very different kind of trajectory in terms of scale. And I used to wonder why. Now I know. It's a difficult mix of trying to have a personal touch with everything that happens in the school, trying to ensure that it is a euphemous word, quality, but quality essentially is a mindset. You want things to happen in a certain way, and education is a very personalized experience. The way you set up your classrooms, the way you construct your curricula, the way you impart that curricula onto the students. Ms. Salamat and then her children now have a very particular way of doing that, which is what I have now come to terms with and have realized that this system will always have a generic growth. And the generic growth is not a growth of just putting up a signboard, taking on a property and asking for admissions to walk in. It is a system that wants to ensure that the strength comes from our own graduates who go out into the world and then come back and feed us and go out to society and make us grow. So my challenge has been that I obviously was much more growth oriented in the way that where I worked, and which is why I think it's been 6 months of Father and myself trying to convince the board that let us grow, and we managed to go into Multan. So that was one challenge for me in my particular role. The other was that in A-level and O-level education, competition is very intense. The trick of having a good O-level and A-level school is the quality of your teachers, their attitude, which is part of their quality, the empathy and encouragement of the management, and me sitting in head office having their confidence. Because as a new person in the system, I needed to first establish my relationship with the school heads, and our school heads have fantastic experience behind them. But of course they're all individuals, and I needed them to first understand that they need to have confidence in my role, which was more supervisory, not intrusive, and very supportive. The third challenge that I've faced is from parental aspirations. Parental aspirations, especially vis-a-vis the private school education, can be difficult. One source of that difficulty comes from the transactional nature that parents perceive in terms of private education. They paid the fee, hence they can say whatever. That is a very difficult role to deal with. Education is not a physical product, it's not tangible, it's a service. It has so many variables affecting it. The problem comes where parental outlook focuses on a private education as a pure profit-oriented organization which does not have the welfare of the students at heart. So this is something that is not hidden. Parents say it. So trying to then win them over is also very important. This is something that we have been very successful with at SICAS. Parents grow. I've seen in a year, I've seen that they believe in the SICAS philosophy. They believe in the care that is given to their students. The third and fourth challenge that I have faced is that in the sort of community of O and A level schools, schools have become a bit of a showpiece. Schools have to promote fashion shows, they have to promote concerts, they have to be cool, happening, they have to cater to children, there's a huge sense of entitlement with the younger generation, and they have to cater to that. And yet they have to be essentially downright educational in the true sense of the word. So that balance is also a bit of a challenge. I could go on actually.
Trust me, we will have you go on further. So some of these, a bit about what you do, your favorite part about what you do, and the most challenging part.
So, basically, I am the head of curriculum and professional. Now, is it better? Yeah. Okay. So, I'm head of curriculum and professional development. My job at the head office is basically to design curriculum, to ensure that the curriculum is according to the needs, current needs of the students. Also to train the teachers according to the current teaching methodologies. And also it's basically evaluation of my own curriculum as well. So I'm designing, I'm implementing, and I'm also evaluating. And evaluation is a two-phase, that is the teachers who are actually implementing the curriculum. They give me feedback about how strong the curriculum is and how much it is addressing to the needs of the students, the learners. And also, it's also a self-reflection of our own program as well. The enjoyable thing is that at the moment we are going through a paradigm shift in education. It's no more 18th century teaching methodologies. It's more hands-on. It's more students need to be equipped with 21st century skills. They need to be collaborative, they need to be communicative, they need to be critical thinkers. So that requirement of rote learners or memorization, that is something which is outdated. And it's a challenge for us as educationists to design curriculum in a way that they are prepared for the 21st century job market and 21st century society. Also, if you ask me about challenges, there are multiple challenges. So the first one itself is that when you design the curriculum, you have to actually ensure the implementation in the right way. For that, you need to have trained teachers. So we are struggling with that for training of the teachers. I've got a team of subject specialists who are working with me. But as Mr. Shehryar said, that we are growing slowly and gradually. I'm hoping that the head office would have more teacher trainers and more curriculum designers who are going to who are going to add richness to our program. So basically, it's teacher training according to the needs of the hour, and also teacher retention. Basically, it's a very competitive market now. As Mr. Asim has said that it's more like a business now rather than education itself. So teachers, we have to keep the interest of the teacher. We have to keep education as a challenge for them, so they are able to they're able to remain in the profession. And I think these are the challenges. And students themselves, now students are not like 20 years back. They are more active. They are not passive listeners. So you have to devise a curriculum which engages them in a more holistic way. And the technology, obviously, that's also a big part. So we have to ensure that technology does not become a learning outcome, but it becomes a tool for teaching. So getting ourselves equipped, it's a learning process for us all as we are going through this paradigm shift.
Thank you. मैं आपसे एक सवाल करूँगी। हम जब सोचते हैं अस्पतालों का सोचते हैं तो हम कभी ऐसे नहीं सोचेंगे कि हुकूमत ने अगर 100 बिल्डिंग्स बना दी तो हम कहें अस्पताल बन गए, जब तक उसमें डॉक्टर नहीं होगा और जाली डॉक्टर नहीं असल डॉक्टर हो, अच्छा हो ना हो डॉक्टर हो और वहाँ पे कोई कार्रवाई हो रही हो, ये नहीं कि बस डॉक्टर बैठा है, पेशेंट आ रहे हैं, चाहे मौत हो रहा है, कुछ कार्रवाई हो रही है, तब तक हम उसको अस्पताल नहीं कहेंगे, हम एक बिल्डिंग कहेंगे उसमें। लेकिन स्कूलों के साथ ऐसे नहीं, हम एक बिल्डिंग बना देते हैं और उसको कहते हैं ये स्कूल है, और उसमें चाहे वो बंदा पढ़ा लिखा हो या ना हो, वो खातून टीचिंग में इंटरेस्टेड हो या ना हो, हम बच्चे भी पहुंचा देते हैं वहाँ पे और कहते हैं कि स्कूल बन गए। तो यहाँ पर ख़ास तौर पे हमारे एलीट प्राइवेट स्कूल सेक्टर में जब कुछ बहुत बड़ी बड़ी चेन्स भी हैं, एंड देयर इज़ ऑलवेज दैट ऑप्शन ऑफ अंधाधुन एक्सपेंशन, और यहाँ पर तो बहुत लोग हैं, ये इट्स अ मिथ कि एजुकेशन में पैसा नहीं है। पेरेंट्स विल वर्क 2 जॉब्स ताकि वो अपने बच्चे को एक फ्री पब्लिक स्कूल में पढ़ाने की बजाय एक लो फी प्राइवेट स्कूल में पढ़ा सकें। So why did Salamat school system prioritize quality over quantity?
Well, it's an interesting question, and of course, if you visit some of the new communities in Lahore, like I was recently driving through Jordan, I was surprised at the number of small schools that had opened on almost residential plots which have been converted for commercial use. So yes, to a large extent, schools are mushrooming everywhere, and of course there's a need for it because people have stopped believing in public education. So I think the whole debate about private-public education is a lengthy one, and of course anybody can see that in Punjab, the private sector has taken over more than 50% of the schools that are offering education to our populace. As for Salamat school system in particular, again, it's about the vision that we started off with. As I explained, that it was really a one couple's goal to sort of set up a school and to realize their passion. My mother was an early childhood specialist, and she wanted to set up the best preschool that she could offer. So I think that's something that was true for. I mean, now it's sort of, we're in the process of handing over the enterprise to the second generation, which is me, my brother, and hopefully my sister. But for my mother, it was a question of spending most of her time with children and with teachers. So it was just the way she was oriented. That's why we could have possibly taken a lot of bank loans, and could have expanded into new areas. We could have done that in the 80s and 90s, but we decided to, or my parents decided to keep it things manageable. So, and now that my brother and I and we are sort of taking over more of the mantle, we want to now focus on the business side of things, because really it's an incredibly competitive environment, the marketplace for education, and it's a matter of survival for us that unless we keep innovating, keep growing, bigger school systems would eat us up, and that's just the nature of competition. And a lot has to be said about competition in private schools, not just in Pakistan, globally. Competition drives quality, and that's been something that we've been true to in terms of making sure that there was little or no room for complaint from parents in terms of what their children were experiencing, the kind of education they were receiving. And for us also, one of the major reasons why we haven't expanded is looking at the pool of human resource that we can drive from. I think that's an important one, and a lot has to be said about the School of Education now, stepping in to rectify the situation. That really, if I go and sort of put up a offer for a qualified principal on rosie.pk or any of these online forums, online portals, I'll be surprised, and you'll be surprised as to what quality would come to me in terms of finding qualified educators to help run schools. So that's been a major challenge, and I think part of our success has been being very careful about who we decide to keep as partners, who we take on board, the quality of the teachers. I mean, up till recently, I was interviewing at the final stage each and every teacher entering the system, and now we've sort of delegated more of those responsibilities at the school level, but still the ethos remains true that a school system can only be as good as the people that are part of it.
Asim sir, आपसे particularly आपने बात की about there being a lot of competition in O levels and A levels, and literacy में और education में क्या फर्क है?
जमीन आसमान का फर्क। लिटरेसी तो ये कि आप पढ़ लिख लें, एजुकेशन का मतलब कि आप में फहम होनी चाहिए।
तो क्या हमारा O levels और A levels का सिस्टम, ये जो एक अंधाधुंध हमने दौड़ लगाई हुई है कि A levels में इतने A स्टार आ जाए, is that education or is that literacy?
मैं इसको थोड़ा और पीछे ले जाता हूँ। Education is essentially instilling a thirst for learning in children, and that quest for learning is obviously grows as a child grows and goes through various levels. OA levels क्यों राइज हो गया हुआ? वो इसलिए राइज हो गया क्योंकि हमारे जो से लोकल सिलेबाई जो मैट्रिक इंटरमीडिएट हैं, they do not encourage independent learning. They do not encourage analytical thought. They are more stunted in terms of in these two areas. Knowledge है उनमें, क्योंकि ज़ाहिर है जो बच्चा इंटरमीडिएट करता है, मैट्रिक करता है, और bulk of the children in Pakistan do that. नॉलेज तो है उनमें और बहुत लायक बच्चे हैं, और वही हैं जो आपके डॉक्टर्स भी बनते हैं, इंजीनियर्स भी बनते हैं। लेकिन उन इस सिस्टम में जिस तरह जो इम्तिहानात का सिस्टम है वो इंक्वायरी बेस्ड नहीं है, वो ज़्यादा बल्क ऑफ नॉलेज बेस्ड है, जिसके लिए आपको रोट वर्क में पे ज़्यादा तवज्जो देनी पड़ती है और क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस पे कम। OA लेवल एजुकेशन pushes in that direction. बहुत सी डिबेट होती है कि नहीं होना चाहिए, but that's a separate issue. जो हमारे स्कूल्स हैं इनके अंदर we cannot survive and we cannot produce good results unless our teachers allow that particular quality to prosper within our students. गो के ये भी एक criticism over the last 10 years develop हुआ है कि OA levels सिस्टम भी पाकिस्तानियों ने क्रैक कर लिया हुआ है, और अकेडमीज़ हैं वहाँ आप जाएँ तो नोट्स पढ़ने और वो बार repetition of past paper practice की वजह से you're able to kind of you have localized the system in that sense. Yes and no. ज़ाहिर है at any given level, if a student is exposed to that level of difficulty in terms of question answering again and again, confidence grows and your ability to answer the question obviously becomes better over time. So that is a given. But the fact still remains that the manner in which student knowledge is questioned is still inquiry based. It is still analysis based. So as far as that element remains alive in any education system, it is education, it is not literacy.
Thank you. इसी सवाल को एंड पे एक ही दफा ताली इसी को मैं आगे लेके चलती हूँ। समर आप करिकुलम की हेड है, and now technology is making a big time intervention into how we deliver education. The industrial model of the 1800s, where everyone was the factory model, where now everyone is getting this thing done to them and then this thing, and in the end you have a car. That's how we've been delivering education. फ़ोन हम अपना 2 साल पुराना भी हो तो हम शर्मिंदा होते हैं कि नहीं फ़ोन अपग्रेड करना चाहिए, लेकिन हमारा स्कूलिंग सिस्टम 200 साल पुराना है, उस पर कोई नहीं सोचता. We are still delivering education the way it was delivered in the 1800s. So my question to you is, now that technology is coming up, it's very exciting. मौलाना रूम का कॉल है कि गधे के ऊपर अगर आप 1000 किताबें ला दे तो रहता गधा ही है. तो अब हमने जो किताबों का नया अल्टरनेटिव बना लिया, दैट्स टेक्नोलॉजी. लैपटॉप्स पकड़ा दें, फ़ोन पकड़ा दें, डिजिटल ब्लैक बोर्ड लगा दें. So as the head of curriculum, where we are at this sort of curve in how we deliver education, we are sort of turning away. How do you figure out what is the right use of technology in curriculum in a classroom?
A good question. See, as I shared with you that we are going through a paradigm shift from memorization and rote learning. We are moving towards more hands-on, reflective. We are trying to make reflective thinkers. We are trying to make communicators. Technology for us is a tool. It's not the end in itself. So we are using different, we do ensure that students have digital literacy to use any app. Like we have got coding, we got a complete comprehensive ICT program, but that program facilitates the other disciplines. Okay, like for example, for writing, I feel that writing as a skill is dying. Reading as a skill is dying. So we've got a solution to that. We've got a digital library that has a plethora of books available for students that they can actually browse through, which actually address their needs. If, for example, if they are doing a concept on maybe justice or independence or inflation, there are books available there online for them that they have to choose from. You must have heard about IB curriculum. So I am looking at two curriculums at the moment. And if you personally ask me, I love the IB more because that's the 21st century approach to education, to approach to teaching. CIE has its own positives, but IB does not prescribe any books. It does not have any digital requirements as such. A child can actually go through a number of books, number of resources to find out information, right? So technology for us is a tool. It's not a learning outcome in itself.
And I think it's in line with the same ethos of just not, many people throw money at the problem. If only we can buy good education, parents का आपने बात की कि parents think of it as a transactional relationship कि हमने पैसे दे दिए हैं तो अब I need to buy this from you. I've bought you in some ways. And the same thing कि अगर teachers or school leaders technology product पकड़ा दें, so that's easy to buy. It shows that you think that you've delivered education, but it doesn't work like that. It takes a lot more.
If I can just add to so I'll just add to the use of technology in particularly our school. One good thing about technology is it's easily movable. There's no restriction of national borders or anything like that. If you want to adopt a technology, you can, as long as you have the muscle power to pay for it, for example. For instance, so in our context, we're using a lot of third-party softwares. I recently, as Zahra mentioned, we invested in library management software, which a company by the name of Follett is providing to us, and we're one of the early adopters of this software. We've ordered physical books a lot, but thousands of dollars, which are going to be stocked up in our library. So what does the software allow us to do? It allows us to monitor the usage of those books vis-a-vis students. So information that was not previously easily available is now on our fingertips. So how many students are checking out books, or how is their reading program is being managed? All of that is facilitated through a very state-of-the-art software, which we believe in and which we're sort of incorporating into our school system. Similarly, we've invested in a software called Naviance, which is a counseling software. And again, a job that previously could have been done with 5 or 6 counselors is now being done by 2 counselors. So the whole the system of monitoring what goes on in the school, from my vantage point as executive director, becomes very simple. Like I wear multiple hats in my role as a director. I'm a counselor. I'm a superintendent principal. I'm the face of the school in very many ways. So I have to really keep my fingers in a lot of different areas, and that's one of my challenges. So software, the use of technology has made that quite simple. Another software that we recently adopted was the Atlas Rubicon software, which allows all our lesson planning to go in a cloud, in an online platform, by which teachers can collaborate even sitting at home on the lesson planning that they can do. So, so while such information becomes, safeguarding that information becomes important to us, make sure that there are no hackers out there. But it is our intellectual property that we have developed, and that what we are proud of, and so it becomes a mechanism through which what sets us apart. We are able to carry on with the business, with a very complicated business of educating thousands of students in a more simplified manner, and that's what technology allows us to do. And yes, there's a negative side of technology as well, which often is spoken about. That the use of cell phones and iPads, they're more distracting than anything else. And students, for example, are still not allowed to bring their phones into the school, for example. And there's a huge reason why our sports in schools is suffering, because kids these days are glued to their consoles and their iPads and playing games all the time. And that was not how I was raised in the 90s when I was at Edison and playing sports all the time. So these are some of the real challenges in our school system, which we're trying to overcome through various means.
Do you have some scientific software as well integrated in your curriculum?
Okay.
Simulation, scientific simulation, physics, chemistry, bio, that sort of stuff?
Yes, we're just in the process of talking to new vendors, where a lot of previously we tried some scientific software like Eureka was once used. It sort of didn't work out in our system. Teachers were not comfortable using it, but we're always on the lookout for using more technology softwares. I mean, for example, math is taught through Mathletics. It's not technically science, but we do have a software where teachers and students have their own logins, and parents have their own monitor that, and they take part in online things. And then we all started a robotics program in our school as an after-school club, and that uses a lot of technology as well.
Yes. It's basically, we've started STEM integration into our curriculum. So we've got a person on board who has got good experience in STEM education and into robotics. So we have this year started as a after-school club, and also working on making it a part of our regular curriculum from primary school till middle school and OA levels.
तो मरियम ने बात की थी फहम की और नॉलेज एंड लिटरेसी की बात की, उसमें मैं पूछना ये चाह रहा हूँ कि ओ लेवल से शुरू होता है ना क्लास 9 से, so there you sort of you're stuck with the curricula of Cambridge or whichever you're following at Excel whatever. But उससे पहले तो आप फहम और उन चीज़ों को बहुत अच्छी तरह बच्चों में बिल्ड कर सकते हैं, and I think that is where you're working on the curricula before that, na?
Yes.
So you haven't talked much about it in terms of literacy and.
See, basically, we are also following CAIE curriculum for primary and secondary, but we have customized it. Because we, like O and A level, we are not bound by that.
So think globally, act locally. That's what you've done.
Yes.
So we'll just get to the open Q&A session. मुझे जो शहरयार की बात से समझ आई है कि अगर आपके टीचर्स घर से भी काम कर सकते हैं, इसका मतलब है आप आपके टीचर से घर पे भी काम करवाते हैं। तो ये तो टेक्नोलॉजी ये तो टीचर्स की डेडिकेशन को सलाम, टेक्नोलॉजी की जो बर्दाश्त कर रही है।
Profession has changed. It's not like right now 7 to 2 job and you go home and forget about things. It's like you're planning. Usually you're planning. I started as a teacher 15 years back, and my evenings were spent on planning, copy checking, getting feedback ready for the students before the next lesson. So it's not an easy job. Right?
Definitely. One last question before we open it up. Our School of Education, one of the important things we hope to accomplish is that our graduates should think of themselves as entrepreneurs in education. There should be several systems like this that are, 1 school, 5 schools, 10 schools, people who are delivering quality education. We are all winners that way. We are not competing with one another. आपने अपनी presentation में एक बात की कि आपकी वालिदा एक early childhood specialist थी, and she decided to become an entrepreneur. Does one decide to become an entrepreneur, or is that something that's already in you? You yourself, you said earlier that when you were moving back from the US, you were thinking, should I go to the corporate sector or should I take on the entrepreneurial business? What would your advice be to people who are thinking of starting their own venture? It could be a school, it could be a teacher training institute, it could be a test prep institute, it could be anything. What is your advice to potential entrepreneurs?
That's $1 million question, and I'm glad it was asked, and I'll try to answer it. So my advice to entrepreneurs out there, especially in the field of education, is similar to being an entrepreneur in other fields as well. Being an entrepreneur always has this bit of risk associated with it. It's relatively risk-free if you go the tried and tested route, and if you join the corporate sector and you become you trod the path well trodden. So in becoming an entrepreneur, you take a substantial number of risks, and I think each entrepreneur would identify that being a risk taker is one of the qualities that you have to exhibit. And in the context of my sort of advice to entrepreneurs in education is again sort of be passionate about education. There's no way, there are no shortcuts in setting up a good school. So, and the LUMS School of Education is one such platform that I thoroughly ask you to get vested into the process of becoming an educationist first before you try opening a school simply because you think it's good business. Other than that, I would say just try to find the right partners in your business. As being an entrepreneur, you can't go it alone. A school will always be as good as the people who are running it. So find good educators, find good teachers, find good administrators, people who identify with the vision that you have. It may not be this. No two schools are alike, and you may have a completely novel vision as to what type of school you would like to run. And just stay true to the vision. Don't let obstacles dissuade you, and keep at it. I think that's the most important quality as well. Let not if you fall down, get back up and keep working on it. And in Pakistan especially, there's a lot of in our context we have to deal with a lot of authorities along the way which impose restrictions on us in very, very many ways. The government is not too conducive in promoting education. They recently passed an act which regulated our, from a price point, they tried to regulate us, which is being contested in various courts. A lot is happening which would sort of make you shudder to start a school because it is a substantial investment. Most of our new projects are hovering in the territory of millions of dollars. Literally, that's what it takes to start a new school, especially in terms of investments that are required. So make sure you have a good funding platform. Make sure you're not taking insane risks, which could sort of lead to a lot of financial hardships for you and otherwise. So make sure you're taking calculated risks, know what to expect, and do your research.
Thank you. So all of you have on your seats this flyer, the MPhil flyer. Can you show me? Does everyone have one? Who does not have one? We have to make sure that everybody has a flyer. Can you give it to that gentleman who doesn't have any, if you're poor than one? Okay. So show me your flyer. I'm going to tell you a story. when I was doing my graduate school abroad in Boston, and I was taking a course, and they had these flip charts, and the instructor would write on that flip chart and then use the next sheet and then write on that, and then she'd take it out. And this was rough work. There were flip charts all over, and this was a regular thing that was happening. And I thought, you know, I have met those children in schools in Pakistan, जो अपनी कॉपी पे इरेज करके उसी कागज को दोबारा इस्तेमाल करते हैं, क्योंकि उनके पास कागज मुश्किल से मिलता है. और यहाँ हम एक डेवलप्ड कंट्री में हैं जहाँ पे कागज, क्योंकि उसे बोर्ड पे ना लिखना पड़े, तो कागज पे लिख रही है. And that's supposed to be the best of education. I have a lot of value for paper, and I have a lot of value for what paper can do. So don't take this flyer as something that you just throw away. This flyer has the opportunity of recruiting someone. Maybe it's you, maybe it's a sibling or a friend. Just commit to giving it to someone that you think might be interested, or keep it for yourself and read it. This is about the SOE MPhil program. And that MPhil program has been put into place with this exact vision of making sure that that child who erases the text to write the next day's lesson has a better chance tomorrow. So with that, I thank my guests for being here and being a part of this important movement. And what we'll do is we'll ask our audience to ask questions. So there are 3 rules to asking questions. 1, you must introduce yourself briefly, your name, just your name. Number 2, a question ends with a question mark, and it is short. So, your name, a short statement that ends with a question mark. So we'll take 3 or 4, and then we'll come back and we'll do a couple of rounds of that. So you can raise your hands. Yes?
My name is Tom, and I have a question relating to curriculum development. And so we have subjects, for example, the social sciences, and we have different narratives over there. About, for example, history, we have different narratives about how things happened, about different issues. So how do you decide which issue to put in your books, which issue to talk about and which issue not?
Fantastic question. We'll take a couple and then we'll come. So question of how do you decide what gets included in the curriculum and what is less important? It's a very important question. Other questions?
Tariq, I work at LUMS. मेरा सवाल ये कि lower income group के लिए आप लोग क्या करें? Because you are very highly priced in the market.
Fantastic question. Third question.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम अहमद है और मेरा सवाल ये है कि कन्वेंशनल क्लासरूम के बारे में कहा जाता है कि ये टीचर सेंटर्ड होता है, तो सलामत स्कूल कैसे क्लासरूम को स्टूडेंट सेंटर्ड बना देता है?
Great. तो 3 सवाल है. Student centered or not? आप लोग low income के लिए क्या कर रहे हैं? और how do you decide what goes in the curriculum and what stays out?
Okay, first I'm going to answer your question. You talked about different perspectives that are there in social sciences. So we are not the one who's going to decide the perspective. It's the students who are going to decide it. We are going to launch right now. At the moment we are studying, because as I said that it is the time of paradigm shift. So we talk about globalization, we talk about open-mindedness, we talk about collaboration, and for that the age-old social sciences curriculum is outdated. It does not stand there anymore. And to answer that, we have global perspectives. So the global perspectives run on different themes which address different perspectives. It has a set curriculum. Map overview is there. That's what a grade 1 student should be actually studying about. Maybe it's about habitats, it's about let's say young and old, difference between young and old, starting from a very low level and going, and the complexity rises as the student graduate into different levels. So the child has the chance to see different perspective himself, and they have to come up with an opinion themselves, and the perspective is not going to be given by me or the teacher who is teaching. The child is going to decide the perspective themselves. We are going to give different versions, different varieties.
If I may just add to it, I also work for the Islamic school system. I think Samar's answer covers most of it, but also let's not be in denial that there's only so much that we can do being in Pakistan, right? Like we would like to talk about more stuff that happened in history, stuff that we're not allowed to officially talk about in our school systems as well because of several official documents that are given by the government. But at SICAS, the learning does not take just within the classroom, right? Like experiential learning, hands-on learning takes place outside as well. So stuff that is not covered by the curricula as such will be discussed in like a debate camp, will be discussed in, you know, if you're discussing honor killing in a drama club or something, stuff about women, about blasphemy will be in some forms discussed there as well. So there are multiple avenues to which we try to ensure that it's like holistic coverage of different events in history.
So hence the importance of extracurricular, because it does cover what is outside of the curricular. Asim sahab, आप बताएंगे कि आप बताएंगे on the question of student-centered, I think that would be, how are you?
This particular aspect that was touched upon, this is very student-centered. Obviously, when you have a certain syllabus which has a certain level of difficulty, the lead is taken by teachers, but then good teachers always encourage students to question what is being taught, and they also encourage them to read around that concept so that they get greater clarity as to what that concept is actually talking about and how that concept relates to other concepts, mainly the social sciences and more particularly the sciences in themselves. As far as the global perspectives angle is concerned, we have actually decided to make it compulsory for students at O levels to sit in for that exam because it instills or exposes them to two particular aspects of education. One is independent research. When you are teaching kids to a given syllabus, the concept of or the use of independent research is limited. So here students will pick up a topic, let's say it may be gender discrimination, it may be health and safety, it may be environmental degradation, it may be economic deprivation. They would work on a project, they would define its goal, they would do broad surveys on it. They might even have to go and do and devise a questionnaire and go out and have that questionnaire filled out themselves. This teaches them how to construct research and how to then synthesize analysis and to come out with a conclusion. Maybe right, maybe wrong, but they learn the tools. So it becomes student-centered that way, and there's a lot of flexibility in choosing those topics. The concept that Hashim brought up is there. However, our teachers are very flexible when they discuss certain things. For example, let's say if you talk about the Pakistan study system, of course, Pakistan study syllabus, it is a certain given syllabus, and you will be questioned according to how Pakistan came into being. So central to the concept of the creation of Pakistan's two-nation theory. But teachers do talk about ways to concepts which are opposed to that theory as well. So it's not a blinkered approach to education in that sense. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Thank you very much. That really helps. Shehryar, what are you doing for the low-income group? And I'll add something. What is the responsibility of the private sector in helping the larger education system in Pakistan to improve?
Well, sure. I'll just sort of, the private sector is twofold, so there are for-profit private schools and then there are independent schools as well, such as the Care Foundation, the charitable trust schools. They're also technically private, they're not public schools, which is the responsibility of the government, right? So So again, the public-private partnership is important. And there are different schools of thought in terms of, there are certain schools like in Scandinavian countries, they don't allow private education. They only, they're not given even a license to operate. The state takes on the mandate for educating everyone. So it's sort of like Pakistan being, the country that it is. The government has sort of held up its arm that we need help from the private sector. And a lot of private sector people have stepped in. For example, the PEF organization has sort of handed over and in the process of handing over about 10,000 public schools to the private sector. And I believe, I was there at the meeting and we were asked to take on a few schools and it's under consideration. Beacon House has already taken over 50 public schools. So there is a responsibility of the private sector. We do realize our corporate social responsibility in a big way. We donate a lot of our money towards private school. Towards
Salamat.
Salamat is still a for-profit school. It's not a trust school. So Salamat still is priced at the same point as Beacon House, like around the 14,000, 13,000 price range per month. So SICAS is more expensive, around 24,000 rupees or so a month, and it goes up, scales up, and you go to A levels. So it is good education around the world is going to be an expensive product to deliver. Even Harvard University is priced at thousands of dollars a year, but yes, their mission and vision is such that they give a lot of aid, financial assistance to their university students. At the private school sector, we have to make our ends meet as well. We can't afford to operate at a loss. And we have to look at our stakeholders, our parent body, all of those things come into mind. But we do have a lot of mechanisms at our head office where we assist parents who are facing financial problems with financial assistance. We give scholarships at A levels, even sometimes at O levels. So we are very, very mindful, and particularly myself being at the helm of the organization, it's something that I grapple with on a constant basis. Like I have piles of financial need forms that I'm filling out, or I'm asked to review and give discounts to various needy parents, for example. So we're doing that. At the same time, we have to meet our bottom line, which is making sure that we have enough money surplus, because we don't rely on bank loans to grow. Our project in Multan, for example, it's a very expensive project. It's entirely funded by our own money, the surplus that we accumulated. So those are some of the nature of being an entrepreneur, the nature of running a private school, for-profit private school. Some of the things that I can talk about today.
Fantastic. And I don't think profit is a bad thing. I think, in fact, when the government puts a cap on it, when they say that private schools should not raise their fees, and at the same time they impose things such as you must have heightened security and we will not pay for it.
Absolutely.
That actually disincentivizes the private sector from doing what they're doing well, and it sort of transfers on to teachers with pay cuts. It transfers on to students in lesser resourceful facilities, and everyone loses in that. So I think the private sector should be allowed to do whatever. Let the market decide. If it's too expensive, let people decide some other school. Let the market regulate the price. So I think profit is not a bad thing as long as there is corporate responsibility around it.
And accountability.
Accountability, absolutely.
May I add to that?
Jesus.
See, the larger question is this. In a country that has been spending less than 1% of its federal outlay and around 2.5% of its provincial outlay on education, over a number of years, which has had a population growth rate of 3%, over a number of years, which has now come down to about 2-point-something%. The gap between the provision and demand has become larger and larger and larger. If it weren't for the growth of private education at different tiers of delivery, our education system would have been in greater mess. Not only has it been able to fulfill a gap which society yearned for, it has also created fantastic employment opportunities, especially for the female sector, within an environment which is safe and has a lot of respect associated with it. So in that context, I think the private education system has done a brilliant job in Pakistan. Our supervisory mechanism at the governmental level has typically been knee-jerk reaction. The regulatory system that Shehryar Sahab talked about came about because there was a protest in Islamabad, and the government said, oh yes, we must do something about this, and they said, okay ji, aap fees nahi badha sakte. That's basically explained to the gallery kind of a thing. Regulation requires a much more deeper thought. Regulation would, for example, in my perspective, it would require that government should vet the kind of people that schools employ. What are their qualifications? Are they fit to be teachers? Because teachers are the bar of your coming generation. They mold minds. They create characters. They create mindsets. They are role models. Throughout life, all of us remember how a teacher affected us positively or negatively. It's a very important role. If the regulation has to come, it should come on that level. Profitability is something that is self-regulatory in a market. You cannot price yourself in a market beyond the capacity of your paying customers. This is true for any service whatsoever, however large or big it may be. Education and health are two very important and tricky services because they are very basic to civilization and to the growth of civilization. So therein there is a certain responsibility associated, which Shehryar Sahab alluded to. In the analysis that I have done of our system, around a quarter of our students are on scholarship, and that's saying a lot. In a private sector organization, and those scholarships are merit-based in terms of academic prowess. They are based on also recognition of a student's prowess in extracurricular activities, in sports, and also for financial need cases where their family has suffered losses in terms of earning potential, or the main earning individual of the family has had a setback or has passed away. School has stepped in, and scholarships are offered. So the responsibility concept is there. But this gap will continue to grow because at the state level, priorities still haven't been reversed.
Thank you so much. I feel that I could just continue this conversation. I know there are several questions in the audience too, but we have run out of time. What we'll do is, we'll formally end the session. The panelists and I are available for questions after this. We're going to play a video of the LUMS School of Education. Please thank our panelists and join us. Please stay for the video, and once the video is done, then we'll formally end the event. Pakistan is currently experiencing a tremendous boom in the education sector, making it the most robust engine of growth for the Pakistani economy. This accelerated growth, however, is at the risk of dissipating because of a lack of strategic leadership. The time is ripe for a planned intervention that will harness this energy and channel it in a progressive and sustainable direction, aligning the education sector with the challenges of the 21st century.
The education sector in Pakistan is one of the fastest growing sectors in the Pakistani economy. The SOE MPhil aims to create leaders in the education sector that will both conceptualize and provide a meaningful response to this increased demand.
School of Education is starting its program by launching an MPhil in Education, Leadership and Management that is going to work with the education providers in the country, whether be it in the school system, the government, or individuals who are interested in providing a better future for this country.
Education is fundamental to a country's development. My dream is that the school will play a very important role in bringing into focus the importance of education for the development of Pakistan.
Since 1985, LUMS has spearheaded world-class academic and research programs that have redefined education standards in the country. Inculcating critical thinking on part of the students has been a major thrust of the teaching ethos at LUMS. Hundreds of students go through its portals every year to make a difference in the corporate and development sectors as well as academia, setting new benchmarks for professionalism and work ethics. The university is especially distinguished by its highly accomplished faculty hailing from top international universities. LUMS is proud of its state-of-the-art facilities that include digital classrooms, world-class sports amenities, and comfortable and secure student housing.
But one of the most important pillars of our program will be what is called the practicum. The practicum is going to embed you, the student, into an organization for a period of at least 1 semester under guidance from a supervisor at the school as well as a person from the particular organization that you are embedded in to look at a particular problem that this organization is facing within educational field.
We wanted to make sure that the LUMS School of Education MPhil students have well-paying jobs when they graduate. We have partner organizations in the donor sector, private sector, public and non-profit sector who are looking forward to interview our graduates for positions that are open and offer market competitive salaries.
I believe that the LUMS MPhil Education Leadership and Management Program will have a huge impact on private sector schools. As the director of SICAS, I feel that the graduates of this program will be ideal candidates to recruit as the next generation of educators who will surely improve the quality of ours as well as other schools.
I'm really excited about this MPhil program that the LUMS School of Education is starting because it will allow us to tap into a pool of graduates who can take care of the education side of things and allow us to embark upon really exciting EdTech projects that we have planned.
We either have people who come from school teaching background, have their heart in the right place but do not understand management. On the other hand, you have managers coming out of top business schools, again, very well intended to work for Pakistan's betterment, but education is not an area that they know about.
We want to ensure the success of policy outcomes. So for that, I feel like we're creating the right kind of talented skill set and skilled resource pool through the School of Education's initiative in the form of the specialized program that can actually fill in this resource gap.
The LUMS School of Education offers up to 100% financial aid, whether it is need-based or merit-based or a combination of both of them. We will make sure that if you meet the merit, you do not have your finances as a barrier. Join us at the LUMS School of Education and be a leader of education reform.